So, it's all a bit strange right now. We should be doing a radio show every Wednesday. Today is Wednesday. I am recording a radio show. It's just not on the radio. What we are going to be doing, just so you know, Headlocks and Headphones, going to be doing some video shows over the next few weeks. I'm not a cameraman. I am, however, an audio guy. Let's get used to some slightly different things during our lockdown. 1, being stuck in the house with a wife all the time. 2, my 2-year-old running around making lots of mess with lots of energy. And 3, WWE, AEW are still putting out wrestling shows to make sure that we're not bored whilst we're on lockdown. Now, if you are a wrestling fan, you will already know WrestleMania was this past weekend. You'll also know there was 2 nights instead of 1. In addition, you will know the WWE again received a lot of criticism for running WrestleMania. They shouldn't have done it in front of an empty building. They shouldn't have done it in front of the situation that we have, the coronavirus, something that puts everybody at risk, especially when they have several talents that have been isolated as a result of this. Rey Mysterio allegedly, Andrade allegedly, and of course The Miz, who decided he was going to show up during the tapings for WrestleMania with symptoms, even though he was there on the same day as Roman Reigns, who then decided he wasn't going to take part in his match against Goldberg, resulting in a big change in the Goldberg and Roman Reigns match to include Braun Strowman, which had Braun Strowman walk away as the brand new Universal Champion. Certainly shakes things up on the SmackDown side of things. On the Raw side of things, Drew McIntyre defeated, and quite quickly as well, Brock Lesnar for that World Heavyweight Championship. If you are a wrestling fan, I'm sure you already know the results. There are some other great matches on that card, including 2 pre-taped matches. The Boneyard match that headlined the Saturday show, which was AJ Styles versus The Undertaker, shot, funnily enough, in a boneyard, in a graveyard. And I don't want to give away too many spoilers. I will mention The Undertaker won. The ending's a little cheesy, and you need to go out your way to check it out. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. Anderson and Gallows are involved. There's a casket, there's a hearse, there's a grave. I'm not going to give you the spoiler of something that happens once somebody happens to be in the grave. Those pictures have been floating around, but you will, if you go out your way to check out this WrestleMania, you will enjoy certainly that match. On the Sunday, people, it's like Marmite. They either loved or hated the John Cena and Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse match. For me, the Firefly Funhouse has always been something that's meant to be a little bit different. They certainly did that with John Cena this time. I think the WWE should be praised and commended for what they did at WrestleMania. They're still putting out stuff to entertain us. Stephanie McMahon said on the intro for both shows, "Thank you for letting us come out here and entertain you." We're stuck in our houses. There's only so many times you can sit and watch Tiger King before you get bored. There's only so many times before you can run through Big Bang Theory again. And I'm a Big Bang Theory fan, don't get me wrong. There's only so many times you can run through it whilst you're in lockdown before you start thinking, do you know what? I just want to watch some wrestling. Now, there's plenty of old school wrestling out there. And I'm sure as we move into the scenario of less and less wrestling as this lockdown goes on, we are going to delve into some of the old school wrestling, because there's a lot of great stuff we can look at. But this is different for me, because doing it on video, I have to look at my face. Sadly, you have to look at my face as well, which I'm sure you're all happy about. But Headlocks and Headphones, we're available on Facebook. If you want to talk about wrestling, give us a message. We do love to talk about wrestling. Could be myself, could be my producer Zoe Styles. She will be on the show before we have our interview today. We have an interview with Stuart Girling, who was actually the interview guest a year ago for my birthday special. He is again going to join us for a quick interview. I say quick, it's 40 minutes long. We're not going to edit any of it. There's 1 or 2 little blips in there, but we are going to be leaving that intact and uploading it on the show. If you are new to Headlocks and Headphones, we just talk about wrestling. Normally the aspect of the show is that it's me, the husband, my wife is my producer, Zoe Styles, and my 2-year-old son joins us, and he's been joining us since the day we started doing the show. He has been in the studio. Sometimes he's asleep, sometimes he's not, but just so you know, he may make a cameo in today's interview with Stuart Girling. Certainly in the background, he has been screaming. For everybody that is going a little bit stir crazy during this lockdown, I'm able to leave the house. I'm a key worker, as is my wife. We're both leaving to go out and get some fresh air and be able to at least speak to some human beings. But if you are going out to the shops, make sure you're making the relevant trips. Don't just go for a newspaper, a sausage roll, or any of that nonsense. Whilst we appreciate the custom, every trip you make is a risk for you, it's a risk for us, and we're already putting our families at risk. Please make sure you're only making those important trips, and don't be rude. We have social distancing measures for a reason. It's not to protect anybody else, it's to protect all of us. Now that the preaching's out of the way, look after yourselves, and remember, headlocks and headphones, thankfully, can live on in video form. This week is Stuart Girling. Next week, we hope to have Stuart Murphy. The coronavirus is something that is having an impact on his personal life. He may not make that interview. If he doesn't, we do have an alternative plan for what we're going to do for next week's show. Next Wednesday, we're going to record something that is just because there's not a lot of wrestling to talk about. Me and the producer are maybe going to delve into some old school stuff, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we've enjoyed over the years. So we're going to kind of look back at. My wife is a brand new fan of wrestling. I say brand new. She's been watching it since we got together because she has no choice. You can tell from behind me on the wall, I'm a little bit of a wrestling fan, and if we go a little bit further, this is something we can't really do very well on the radio show, but we do have wrestling belts galore. We have over 30 of them in the house. There's plenty of them underneath the sofa bed that I'm sitting on right now. What we do have is just the desire to be entertained. Some things entertain us, some things don't, and next week we will talk about some of the things over the past 10 years that have entertained us in wrestling. If you want to get involved, headlocks and headphones, let us know the stuff that you're entertained by. We are going to try and do something entertaining every week, or at least something different. We're going to reveal something during the interview that comes with Stuart Girling that is coming in a few weeks' time that I've never done before. It's a 3-way Skype call, and we're going to try and book something interesting. Hopefully, it'll be entertaining. If not, you get to see 3 guys arguing about wrestling, which is always fun to see. But thank you for watching. Thank you for being with Headlocks and Headphones. Let's hope we can get back to doing this from a proper radio studio so I don't have to look at my face every week, and neither do you. So one of the things we do every week is my producer Zoe Styles actually does the AEW shows and I do the NXT shows. Now I haven't been watching NXT and I know my wife hasn't been watching AEW. We've been too busy with the lockdown. We are actually at this point in time, I'm working during the week. I'm not doing any weekend work. So I don't really have a lot of spare time to be watching NXT. So we're not going to be doing that. However, my producer, Zoe Styles, my wife, has decided that she has something she wants to talk about wrestling related. So I told her she has enough time to record anything she wants. So I'm going to get out of this seat. She's going to get in this seat and she's going to record whatever she wants. I'm going to put it in the show and I'm not even going to watch it before I put it on because that's how much trust I have in her. Also, I'm hoping she does something embarrassing. I'm not going to cut it out because the best way to have fun is to embarrass your friends and family. Which reminds me, maybe I need to play some more practical jokes during the lockdown. Just be glad you don't live with me or work with me.
Hi guys, Zoe Styles here from Headlocks and Headphones. Wanted to talk to you about women's wrestling today, as I'm the only woman on the Headlocks and Headphones staff. Not to say that my opinions are therefore any more valid or correct, it's just something that I enjoy talking about. I love speaking about it with my husband, Martin Anderson, and we've watched many a match together that has been absolutely jaw-droppingly brilliant. Last year's WrestleMania, Ronda, Becky, Charlotte did not see that coming. I'm still quite convinced that Ronda was meant to walk away there with the title and Becky was supposed to catch it up at a later point, but who knows? You just never know with wrestling, which is why it's so exciting. As the only person in this house that really watches AEW as well, I've been super excited by Britt Baker. The fact that she's getting so much more promotion time. Her segments with Tony Schiavone are always hilarious. And I'm really excited to see some proper character development finally coming around. The women's matches have a lot of solid in-ring action. without so much of the high flying stuff that makes me off a little bit about the men's. Certainly though, I've been a wrestling fan for 8 years and I'm more used to watching the WWE stuff. I've been following the Women's Revolution. I love Natalya. She's probably my all-time favourite woman, although Alundra Blaze is certainly up there. I think Natalya just speaks to that younger generation of me, my generation, where she's kind of no nonsense but also really fantastic. I can't really put it into words. I'm super excited for things that are going to come. The fact that women finally got the chance to wrestle in Saudi Arabia was amazing. I am excited about the fact that the Bellas have went into the Hall of Fame. Although some people think that they don't really deserve it, I certainly think that they've done so much for wrestling on a world scale. The Total Bellas, Total Divas, E-Network brought in a whole new audience to wrestling that are probably going to be more than casual fans like myself. My husband actually got me into wrestling, but I do think I've stuck around that bit more because you can relate to the women in the ring. I've been super excited to watch Alexa Bliss lately. The fact that she's come back so far after her injuries has been great. I certainly think the most talented and probably underrated superstar at the moment is Kairi Sane. I'm not just saying that because she's a pirate, I promise. The way she can place herself in matches to make everybody else look great, her chemistry with Asuka makes that team just world class. And I look forward to everything that she's going to be achieving as a solo star as well as a tag team champion. I think probably the more, I spoke about underrated, I think the more overrated talent for me is Charlotte Flair. Whilst she, certainly with the gimmicks that she has, does an amazing job, she is great in ring, she is brilliant as a heel or a face. I watched her run with Sasha back and forth for quite a while. But I don't think that her in-ring skill is as fantastic or legendary as everybody says. She certainly does her dad a great justice, but she still can be quite dangerous. She still lacks the ability to run matches herself. And I do think that whilst I'm not denying for a second that she is an incredible talent, she's just not up there with the likes of things like Rhea Ripley. And again, not just saying that because I adore Rhea Ripley. Her style is fantastic. Her in-ring talent is brilliant as well. But it's just, I get more excited watching one match with Rhea Ripley than I do with an entire arc of Charlotte's stuff. Although, to be fair, I think that Charlotte is going to be the one to dethrone Becky, as it were. As her man gimmick has been running for quite a while now, I think that it will be coming to its end soon. Two belts Becky was great, and a little difficult to say, as you can see I just stuttered there. But I think that Charlotte's going to get it, but then she is going to be able to face off with a new talent. I don't know if that's going to be Shayna Baszler, Rhea Ripley, Kairi Sane. Certainly they're all absolutely deserving of that title spot. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to be coming up. I'm going to be watching very closely to see what happens next. And we're going to find out and talk about it on the show when we get back into the studio. I hope you've been okay with me talking to you tonight, and see you all soon.
One of the things that's really important right now, if you are in lockdown, if you're living alone, is to just speak to your friends. Make sure that nobody's on their own. I know this sounds like a lockdown public service announcement, but this is actually just talking about what we've done for the show today. We've reached out to a fellow wrestling fan that happens to be my friend, somebody who's been a guest on the show before. We've done it because what we want to do is we want to try and start talking with each other. If you want to get involved and you want to do an interview, you have something wrestling related you want to talk about, get in touch on Facebook, Headlocks and Headphones. But for today, we are joined by Stuart Girling, and we're going to go right to that interview. Yeah, we'll do it now. So this is Headlocks and Headphones' first ever video interview for our first ever non-studio based show. Somebody who's been a guest on the show before is, of course, this man you can see. You've heard him before, Stuart Girling. Say hello to everybody watching on YouTube.
Hello, how are we?
We've never done this before. We've never done a video interview, so it's going to be quite interesting because having interviewed you before, available in our archives on Mixcloud and SoundCloud, we are going to do something that's hopefully a snapshot interview, where we're going to find out a little bit more about the wrestling fandom that you have. So, The first question, your first wrestling memory.
First wrestling memory would be sitting at home. I think I was in primary school and I was watching Hulk Hogan enter WrestleMania 8.
Wow. So WrestleMania 8 is possibly my favorite WrestleMania, due to the fact that it features possibly one of our shared favorite matches and promos ever, which is the Bret Hart Roddy Piper.
Yes.
Which, quite frankly, for me, is a perfect wrestling match. You just don't know who's coming and going and be babyface and heel. It's strange that your first wrestling memory would be as far back as 1992. But how old would you have been at that point?
We are looking, I was in primary school. I think I was. What year was that? 92.
92.
It was like 20 years ago. I think it was, maybe longer.
Yeah, so that's 28 years ago.
Crap.
How old are you now?
I am 32.
So you've been 4 years old. So your first wrestling memory at 4 years old was seeing Hulk Hogan versus Psycho Sid, one of the most infamously botched WrestleMania main events of all time.
Yes.
Even Papa Shango didn't want to be involved in that match. That's why he arrived so late. He was after the finish. So what was it that, when you watched WrestleMania 8, what was it that brought you into becoming a wrestling fan?
Watching WrestleMania 8, it was the size of the crowd. It was the big pops that Hogan got when he came in. When Ultimate Warrior ran down to the ring, it was, the crowd just went crazy, and I just loved it. The whole theatrics of wrestling anyway, as it used to be back then. And yeah.
So we will talk about the crowd more, I'm sure, when we get to talking about something a bit more modern. But you've mentioned a few names there: Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. I'm sure Papa Shango's not in your top 10 list of all time. However,
WrestleMania 8 was the first time that I'd seen Papa Shango.
Papa Shango would later become the Godfather, and I'm sure he's likely to be in every young teenage boy's top 10 list because of everything he did. But who would have been your first favorite wrestler? Were you the stereotype? Were you the Hulk Hogan fan? Or did somebody else grab you?
I started off as a big fan of Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper, being Scottish, and back then not really knowing what patriotism was. Just with the kill and the hot rod, basically, I was just started loving Roddy Piper.
So we are again going to talk more based on recent events at WrestleMania about Scottish people being on wrestling cards. Now, what was the first live show that you ever attended?
The first live show was Fear and Loathing 9 at the SEC Hydro in Glasgow.
So the 20th of November 2016.
Yes.
I'm not super smart. I do have that in front of me. Having watched a lot of ICW, but only just attended my first show in February, what brought you to want to go and see ICW? A vastly different product to the WWE that you're used to.
I used to work with a guy who introduced me to ICW. I started watching a lot of their stuff online, like on YouTube and Facebook and whatever. Then my girlfriend, which I'm still with now, she got me tickets to go and see Fear and Loathing for my birthday, which is in June, and then obviously I had to wait until December.
No, quite good. ICW are quite good at announcing cards in advance, yes. Particularly for big shows like this. So, had you already known at least some of the big names that were coming? Had they already announced the likes of Kurt Angle? Had they already announced Mick Foley, who obviously wouldn't attend in the end? But had they already announced these guys as being part of it?
I can't remember if they had announced it back in June, if any of the card was released, but I know later on they done shows where Dallas was in the ring and he was announcing that Mick Foley was going to be the commissioner, but Mick couldn't attend, so he would send over someone as an enforcer for him, and that turns out to be none other than Prince Devitt.
Are you missing going to see live wrestling? Because I mean,
yes.
Obviously, the way things are just now, wrestling's not really a priority. Again, this is something we're going to talk about a little bit more in detail later on. Would you say that's your favorite live show you've been to?
It's definitely up there. Being my first live show that I've been to, it's definitely stands out in my head. It is probably my favorite show, just for the fact that Kurt Angle, Team 3D, seeing Balor, just amazing.
Drew Galloway and the rest of Team Black Label together as well. Having seen Grado's entrance live one time only, and it was short, it was for a battle royal. What is it like seeing somebody like Grado make that entrance? I mean, what is the energy like in the crowd? Because on TV, that comes across really well when they don't have to censor the music.
It's unbelievable. Like someone like Grado coming in, like you get guys like Sha Samuels, you get Noam Dar coming in, and then you get Grado. It just builds up as they come out. Grado came out, and it was magic. It was so good.
Now, to bring the mood down, you're talking about some of the favourite stuff you've had from live shows. In terms of seeing Grado's entrance, you would put that up there as one of your top things to see, yeah? So if we remove Grado's entrance, what is the favourite thing you've ever seen at a live show? Because I'll give you my one. As a Bret Hart fan, I got to see Bret Hart in '94. He touched my hand. I didn't wash it for 2 weeks, something that as a teenager I continued quite regularly. However, my favourite moment at any wrestling show I ever went to was a 30-minute Iron Man match between Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit that happened here in Aberdeen. One that was just so well done that you had, the small children who shouldn't be intrigued by a 30-minute match were still shouting and screaming at the end as well. So what a live show has grabbed your attention?
Recently, I was at the latest Square Go. I was with a friend, and we both really hate Sammy Callahan. So the best thing at a live show would be seeing Sammy Callahan getting eliminated from the square go and basically screaming at the top of my voice some very, very profound words.
And what's interesting, they are very much audible on the live version of that show. You can hear you shouting some insults at Sammy Callahan. So, what is your pet peeve about wrestling? What is it about wrestling that you would want to change if you could change one thing?
The fact that some companies push stars onto the fans. If it was up to me, I would let the stars do their thing. If the crowd like them, fine. If they don't, get them to go heel.
So here's something interesting in relation to that. There's reports coming out today, as we record this on the 8th of April, that Bill Goldberg, in the run-up to his match against The Fiend, basically said that it would damage his character if he lost to anybody. And we fast forward to WrestleMania, and he said it would harm him to continue wrestling, so he didn't want to win against Braun Strowman. Do you think that, because this is probably one of my pet peeves, that the older stars coming back is damaging the ability to build stars?
Yeah, I would agree with that. If you've got legends coming back for like a one-time thing against a group, like Michaels, Foley, and Austin came back to basically put Sheamus, Del Rio, Rusev, and all that in their place to teach them a bit of respect. That
WrestleMania more. That was something that was unique. It was a 10-minute segment, and you could see the crowd were excited by that. But then conversely, you bring Goldberg back to win the Universal title from somebody they've been trying to build for over a year. And for me, it just seems to kind of detract from what they're doing with The Fiend to have him lose. Although I want to run by a theory with you and see what you think about this. Have you heard about the hurt and heel theory for Bray Wyatt? So everybody he feuds with, if you look at his gloves, one says hurt, one says heel. So the idea is that everybody he faces have a dilemma and an issue, and the internal struggle that they have is aided somewhat by The Fiend. So those who are bad guys, he heals them and turns them good, like Daniel Bryan. And those who are good guys, he brings out the bad side of them, like the Messiah. And you can actually look through the list of people that Bray Wyatt, as The Fiend, has faced off against. And every single one of them have turned, with the exception of Bill Goldberg. Which bugged me, because I thought, here's an old guy refusing to put over the younger guys. And then it hit me that it's not about them refusing to put over the younger guys. Bill Goldberg has never changed his character. You look at Daniel Bryan, he's been the equal warrior, he's been the yes movement. There is two dimensions to that character that he's able to switch between. Bill Goldberg's an ex-footballer, whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. So what do you hurt or heal in that character? For me, my pet peeve is the WWE haven't explained some of the stuff that I think should be really exciting. Like when the Shield turned from being heels who were hired lackeys for CM Punk, and they turned to becoming good guys. They stood in the ring as if they were doing the lackey job, and they physically turned to face the bad guys. It was the complete embodiment of a turn. And my wife, who is still quite new to wrestling, but knows enough to get by, she's actually one of the producers of the show. But she looked at my reaction, and I was like a 13-year-old at a Justin Bieber concert. I mean, honestly, I actually remember at the time just looking at it going, oh my God, this is incredible. And I don't think there's my pet peeve, just to respond to your one, I don't think there's enough done to emphasize the great things in wrestling. I think a lot of us are very negative about everything that happens. I think WWE especially should be praised massively for what's happened recently, but we will talk about that in just a second. So, you ready for some word association? You don't know what these words are. Just treat this like the psychological tests I'm sure both of us have experienced over the past 20 years. So I'm going to say a word. It's the first wrestler that springs into your mind with these words, okay?
Okay.
Over.
Over. John Cena.
Underrated.
Fiend.
Overrated.
John Cena.
Mechanic.
Styles.
Entertainer.
HBK.
Okay, so now we're going to move into the next one, which is either or. I'm going to give you two things. You pick which one you want. Our friendship does not rest on one of these questions.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
Okay. Kenny Omega or Chris Jericho?
I'm going to go Jericho. I've not seen too much of Omega's stuff, but what I've seen, he is good.
Bloody
but I've seen a lot more Jericho.
Jazz hands. I don't like jazz hands. Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels?
And this is where the friendship lies. I will give Bret his due. He is a great wrestler. He is a great ring technician, but I'm going to have to go HBK.
Taker or Kane?
Taker.
Triple H or Shawn?
Original DX, I'd go Shawn. Later on, before the whole COO thing came about, I'd go Hunter.
Okay, that's interesting. It's good to know that Triple H is at least somewhat on his level. I love Triple H, particularly some of the stuff he's done since he became COO, where he has tried to change the perception on himself, which I think is really cool, because obviously he allegedly buried quite a lot of talents. But when you actually speak to certain people like Randy Orton and Batista, he helped so many guys to get over. So there is a parallel with two guys that I'm going to speak about next. Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes?
Ric Flair obviously is a lot more successful than Dusty. I love and respect Rick for what he's done for the company. Dusty is just a very, very great character.
And we have so many things because of Dusty, like War Games. We have the Dusty finish. We have Goldust and Cody. So, yeah, if I was answering that question, I would be very, very stuck where I would go. I think I would lean towards Flair, but it'd be tricky. And now we move on to, these are not individuals, DX or NWO?
Although NWO original done it, I'd go DX.
Okay. WWE or AEW?
Attitude WWE.
Okay, present day WWE, not so much.
Not so much.
Okay. So now we've done some little games. How about we do one that could get both of us into trouble? How do you feel about that?
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to bring up the WWE women's roster. I was going to call them divas, but I'm not allowed to call them divas. So
Because they're superstars.
yes. So let's pick 3 women. F, marry, kill. Can't say the real F word because YouTube will censor this. So 3 women. Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and Sarah Logan.
That is a tough one. I would F Banks, marry Becky, and bye bye Sarah. Although
Okay.
Sarah Logan is quite underrated as a star, she was built up as the powerhouse of the group in the Riot Squad, and never really got the push she, in my opinion, deserved.
Okay, well, I kind of dig the Viking thing. So I would marry Sarah Logan because she was willing to have a Viking wedding, so she's crazy. Uh, I would F Becky because having met her, she is even nicer in person. I met her in Toys R Us in Aberdeen, and she is lovely. And I would kill Sasha Banks just because. Okay, now that we're both dead, we should talk about some modern stuff. Should WWE have cancelled WrestleMania?
For their biggest show of the year, I think they should have at least postponed it due to the fact that WrestleMania is for the crowd. It's the wrestlers get their WrestleMania moment. There's another year that
As
you
well.
can have your WrestleMania moment. The crowd, it's for a lot of people, it's a once in a lifetime thing. With there being no crowd attendance just now due to the crisis that we're having right now,
Yeah.
I think they should at least have postponed it for a couple of months.
Should they have ran some kind of card? Should they have had like a special and done something? Should they be continuing to run shows and just moved WrestleMania to SummerSlam instead?
I think maybe not that, but if they'd had like a mini mania sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
like something for maybe the NXT roster could come up and
Like
kind of
when
like
in Saudi Arabia, when the NXT guys stepped up and really actually killed it, as far as I'm concerned. It's one of the best matches.
Like some of the NXT guys can come up to the main roster, show us what they've got, kind of like Survivor Series. But if there's like every title doesn't have to be on the line, but just give the people something that isn't WrestleMania without the crowd, because I've seen some of the stuff. I've not seen the full show yet. I've seen a couple of the matches. Wasn't too impressed with what I've seen.
Do you know what? I think the two standout moments are the pre-tapes. They are the Boneyard match from Saturday night and the Firefly Funhouse from the Sunday. I was a big fan of Randy Orton and Edge's match. It went 37 minutes, which for a guy returning from 9 years out is far too long. 20 minutes, you could have told the same story. But the facials that Edge had at the end of that match, he was so conflicted. He had tears in his eyes as he went to do another concerto to Randy Orton. It was beautiful. It was one of those moments that they've spent since the Royal Rumble trying to build up to that. And the fact that there was no crowd there, for me, didn't change that moment. Conversely, you look at Daniel Bryan's match. Daniel Bryan versus Sami Zayn, I think, would have been a much bigger match in front of an audience. If you look at the tag title match that they had for the SmackDown titles, you had some really huge spots. I don't know about you, but if I was going to be doing big spots like falling off a ladder, you want the crowd to react because that gives you an adrenaline.
You need the crowd reaction. It'll make that spot even more worth it.
And the thing is, I think on night one, you had obviously Michael Cole and JBL who returned to the commentary booth. And I think JBL did a very good job. I think the fact that he left probably hurt the announce table for WWE. I certainly don't think Saxton's a very good announcer. I certainly think he has a role in the company, just not as an announcer. He's not very good. So you placed a lot of importance on Grado's entrance and the impact that had on the crowd. Do you think that Drew McIntyre's moment at WrestleMania was spoiled by not having an audience?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you
Not
think?
even going to think about that. Yes, it was.
Do you think that once this is all over, that they have to now give him some kind of moment
Yeah,
so that he
they
has?
clearly do. They obviously do. They can
So
claim for as much as they want, as long as they want, that Drew has had his WrestleMania moment. He's not really. Everyone that has had a match, had their WrestleMania moment, has had a crowd seeing them, having people from their home come in to WrestleMania to cheer them on.
I think I'm a Rangers fan, just like Drew, and they've actually talked about the fact that he wants to book a match here in the UK and have Ali McCoist, a Rangers legend, as his second at ringside, and he wants to go against Chris Sutton, the ex-Celtic player. It's obviously not going to happen. That's not a match that's going to generate any revenue for WWE. But I certainly think that broad concept, I mean, I would love it to be at Ibrox because I'm a Rangers fan, but I definitely think Drew being the champion is the impetus for us to get a UK pay-per-view. And I don't mean an NXT UK pay-per-view because they are great in-ring shows. They are, in many ways, ICW shows based on the rosters, but
Yeah,
without as much violence. If you look, I think Drew could be how we get maybe a Royal Rumble, a SummerSlam, something coming here, particularly if it's on a Sunday. They could actually broadcast, start it at 7 o'clock here, have it go till 10 o'clock, and actually broadcast it as a daytime pay per view in the US without causing too many issues. WrestleMania is a bit tricky. The alternative, and this is one I suggested to my producer, which was I think the 2-night WrestleMania should return, and night one should be headlined by Drew McIntyre in the United Kingdom. Don't care
yeah.
what the venue is, but do it live from the United Kingdom, headlined by Drew McIntyre, and then the undercard, you basically split. So you have the women's title from one show, the tag title from one show, and have that on one night, and then the second night you have it the other way around. And I would actually have Raw on the Saturday night in the United Kingdom, because that audience is gonna just go off the charts to see the WrestleMania in the United Kingdom.
I would probably go as far as say we should have it in Glasgow.
There's definitely enough venues there that you could do something, particularly for at least one night.
You have most
of
of the champions are from the Glasgow area anyway. You've got Drew being the heavyweight. You've got
Nikki Cross from
Nikki Cross being the women's tag champ. You have Wolfgang, which is one half of the NXT UK tag champions. You've got the other half of the NXT UK champions, which is Coffee. So, like, the list is endless. Kaylee Ray is the NXT UK Women's Champion.
There's definitely, and that's just Scotland. If you look, there's still guys like Sheamus who's massively over. And obviously, if we hadn't went into lockdown, I think Sheamus was going to get maybe not a main event push, but he's certainly going to be a big star on SmackDown, somebody that could get massively over. I think the one issue that I have right now is Vince McMahon seems unwilling to push new talent. So you look at the Raws that were. So this year, what they did was they pre-taped the post WrestleMania Raw, so they had matches recorded that don't really have a lot of relevance to the WrestleMania card because it was all done 2 days before WrestleMania. They did an angle involving Drew. So basically something happened after his match at WrestleMania. No spoilers for those who haven't watched it because it was only a couple of days ago. But for me, the problem is heading forward, WWE are going to be taping Raw and SmackDown on a closed set for the foreseeable future. They've said they're going to continue. They say they're taping in Florida, who are still in lockdown, and you're not allowed to tape anything. So it begs the question, how are they going to be taping shows when they legally can't do it? It seems weird. Do you think the WWE should just go off the air for a couple of weeks, maybe air in place of Raw, air, the NWO documentary 1 week, a John Cena documentary the next week, because they already have all these things on the network in the archives. Something to just keep the brand out there and just take a break, keep everybody safe.
I think that would be a reasonably good idea. Like, for Raw, if you have like the NWO documentary, the DX documentary next week, and then for SmackDown you have something from the SmackDown past that was big 1 week, and then something else that was from SmackDown that was big the next week.
Because they do.
It would keep the whole Raw SmackDown thing kind of separate from each other, but still under the same banner.
Yeah, and that would allow us to actually see something just a little bit different from WWE, but also keeping them on the air. But this is the part where we're coming to the end of the interview. So one of the things I want to do is I just want to say, what do you want to see between now and the end of the year, assuming, we'll just say the end of April, the lockdown's lifted, wrestling resumes, not brand specific, but what do you want to see from the wrestling business between now and Christmas time?
I would like to see, after the whole lockdown thing has been lifted, that wrestling companies can carry on the whole rivalry thing, be nice about it, try and forget about the whole Monday Wars type of thing. Stars can get to come home, show off what they've done, i.e. Drew McIntyre to ICW. Let him have a couple of days home. Let him be like, this is where I started, this is where I came from, this is my progress, thank you very much. Give him a shout. Give WWE a shout out on ICW.
Definitely. I think they're already partners, which is one of those interesting things. We have a company here in Scotland that works with WWE, and they're not WWE's partners. They're not financially supported by WWE. Mark Dallas has to bust his ass to make sure that company is able to pay bills and pay their talent. They don't have WWE's money. Something that when I interviewed Mark Dallas, he insisted. Everybody thinks that I'm being paid by WWE. I'm not. They see us as a great place to get talent from and to trust us to look after their talent, despite the image we have for the product we have. And that's one of the interesting things. Seeing the talent that ICW have brought through, it's quite interesting to see how good an eye Mark Dallas and his team, because that's important to remember. Mark Dallas is a huge talent here in the United Kingdom for booking wrestlers. But he has a massive team around him. And ICW have done a great job. What do you think ICW's next step is? Because people have said they're getting smaller, and when I asked Mark Dallas, I've never seen a man as passionate to try and step away from the idea they're downsizing, and he's like, no, we're rebooting, and when you see what we have in store, it's going to shock people. So he couldn't tell me what it was, but he was making it clear there are some huge plans for ICW going forward. Do you think ICW on national television could spark something here in the UK?
It possibly could. Not as the ICW we have just now, with the hardcore side of it. If it lent more like the Attitude Era of WWE instead of ECW type wrestling, I think then it could possibly spark something that UK-based companies could possibly work towards getting their talent towards, which would build their company, and then so on and so forth.
Because one of the interesting things is AEW is on ITV3, and obviously it's on one of the poorer ITV channels. in that it's kind of stuck away. It's hidden away in one of the higher stations. But when you look at stations like Free Sports have links with ITV. They're actually broadcasting a wrestling show on Free Sports. So you have a national broadcaster broadcasting AEW and one of the smaller UK companies. You then look at Channel 5, who were showing Raw and SmackDown on a Saturday and Sunday mornings, which is a heavily edited show, especially the Raw, from 3 hours to 1. Do you think that with the rise in popularity amongst wrestling fans of the Japanese product, that we will see the Japanese product showing up on our screens? Because back when I lived with my mum, the New Japan product was actually on Eurosport, so you could watch it every week with English commentary. And the Americans have had this product on their TV for a while. It's just something that there is a lot of talent that have been through Japan. And I think there would be a lot of value in that product for wrestling fans. Maybe that's part of the agreement WWE planned on announcing, that has since been kind of kicked down the road, because there was meant to be tiered WWE network. So you could get a free option, an option with adverts, and then you could get an option where ICW and several other companies were going to be attached. ICW deny that's happening, obviously, because they have their own network to go to. What do you think needs to happen in wrestling? I mean, we're talking about, national television for ICW. Could that help the company? New Japan Pro Wrestling showing up here in the United Kingdom. What do you think, if I put you on the spot now, what would make wrestling more popular? I mean, it's already popular in some ways.
I think we need a channel like World of Sport back. World of Sport, for me, was great. You had old school, original British wrestling. There was guys from all over in Britain.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the wrestling channel was great because they also had shoot interviews as well, and it was free, and everybody could watch it. And I think if we had a free platform that was supported by adverts, and there was maybe several stations on there, it would probably do quite well. The problem is that we do have some places like Pivot Share and stuff that have like indie wrestling companies, and I think that maybe damages it a little. We need to maybe step away from the idea of it being indie companies and have somebody come along. I mean, that's what I thought AEW was going to be. I thought AEW was going to be, they're going to launch an app, and that app's going to be on your phone, and every day they're going to just send you a match and just say, just let us know what you think. And then whilst you're watching the match, it'll pop up and say, click here, and you can order the T-shirt that this person's wearing. Click here, and you can subscribe to their mailing list and get their YouTube videos. We perhaps aren't at that place yet, but there's perhaps a place for a wrestling company that's based around being able to just put it in people's pockets. Because AEW is great in-ring stuff, but if it wants to stand out, I think that could be a huge thing. Get an app that isn't about making you pay $9.99, but it's about maybe sending you the TV show every week. And during the TV show, it pops up and says, do you want to buy this T-shirt that Cody Rhodes is wearing? Click here. And you can set up your account so you're not having to click 12 buttons. You click the button and the shirt's on its way to you already. Maybe that's something that people can work on. Do you have anything else that you would like to talk about wrestling related?
No. I think I'm good.
Would you like to mention anything about what this is behind me? Keep that a secret that we will announce at some point very soon.
I think that should be announced by a certain person.
Who, when they're available, will be doing an interview with us as well.
Yes.
Okay, so the next interview should be with a man that we've just mentioned. He is called Stuart Murphy. And then we're going to do a three-way interview, of course, which will feature all of us. And what I want to do, if you're up for it, is we are going to take some wrestlers and we're going to book a show in a group video. and we're going to see what happens.
I'm good.
I'm just going to
I'm
be
good with that.
shouting, screaming, and arguing, and that's just going to be me. But thank you for joining us.
No
we'll see
problem.
you.
Hope so. Thank you.
Hey everybody, Zoe Styles here, back for Headlocks and Headphones, just to tail end our little video show here today. As it would seem, rather than talk about wrestling, the hubby's taking a nap. We hope you really enjoyed our show today, and tune in next time for our next video chat. Catch us, Headlocks and Headphones, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. We're always happy to have a chat about anything, especially wrestling. Take care and stay safe, and we'll talk soon.